but it's been able to 3 to 5x our profit margins using the same amount of capital in these flips. And so that's really been the cheat code for us to scale.
All right. Hey, welcome to Your Money, Your Rules, where real people share real strategies that build real legacies. Now, I'm your host, Teresa Villaruz, and today's guest is someone who's flipping the game, like literally. And if you've ever wondered how to turn creative real estate into a vehicle for impact and income, today's episode is just for you. All right. So today's guest is Adam Colburn, a creative deal engineer, founder of Oak and Arrow Home Solutions, and really one of the sharpest minds in the game when it comes to subtails and maximizing profits on every deal. But what really caught my attention is his Mount Everest, and I'll actually let him share that with you. What's up, Adam? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Teresa. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. Now, I've talked about Mount Everest in the past episodes, which essentially is that 3 to 5 year goal rooted in the purpose that God has given you, right? Now, most investors chase cash flow, flips, and fast checks, but you've actually tied your mission to something deeper. How about let's start there? Like, would you mind sharing your Mount Everest? Where did this vision come from? And how did real estate become the path to fulfill it?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So my Mount Everest is that I want to provide safe and affordable housing for 1,250 people transitioning out of rehab centers, all while netting $100,000 a month. And so I've kind of reverse engineered that to hit those markers, and I need 157 single-family homes across the country to achieve that goal.
Oh my gosh, 157 homes and getting that within 5 years, right? Because it's 3
Correct.
to 5 years, and then 1,250 people. Oh my God,
Yep.
that's
1,250
like
people.
that's a really huge goal, right? And obviously, it's something that when people have those big goals, they can't do it alone, right?
100%.
And one of the things that I see is that when people have these massive goals, it kind of holds them back because it seems like the goal's a little too scary. Can you kind of dive into like what's giving you the motivation to even try to tackle this massive goal that you have?
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think a lot of it comes down to mindset, which I'm sure we'll get into a little later, but just being in the right rooms with people that want you to just get to that next level, right? That are pushing you, where now those goals that used to feel daunting are now more motivating. Like now I want to go and run through that wall to get to that point. And so my Everest actually doubled twice over the last year. I originally started, I think it was around 400 people, and then that went to 900 people or 800 people at one of the other Owners Club retreats, and then at the final one, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Kyle Kargis, OG Owners Club member. And he's like, dude, no, that's still too small. It's got to be over 1,000. It's got to be over 1,000. I was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's do it. And so I think that's the point, right? We want a goal that is so big that you physically can't do it by your. And I think just the Subsu community in general is a testament to that. Like you can go so much further working with other people. And so that's kind of where I landed on it. As far as like the cash flow number, that's more of a vanity metric, because at the end of the day, like, do I really need $100,000 to live? No, but it's from my mindset and viewpoint, money is just a tool anyways, right? So the more money we're bringing in, the more impact we can make in other ways, right? I'm a man of faith. I want to invest into my church. I want to be able to provide opportunities for people to go on missions trips or start their own businesses, and do things like that are faith-based as well. And so doing good in the community and doing well for yourself don't have to be mutually exclusive. And I think that this space is very needed. The addiction problem in America is not going anywhere anytime soon. If anything, it's getting worse. And so if we can be on the forefront of trying to stop that from getting worse, right? Solve that issue while also doing really well for our families, building a legacy, and then really making impact in the community, then why wouldn't I do it, right? It's killing 5 birds with 1 stone, like Pace would say.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I love that you've kind of touched on that mission and having that purpose that God has given you, right? And you've talked about church life and all that stuff, but what would you say is kind of or what was that vision that got you to why this?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the first one that I brought online and kind of learned about the sober strategy was really on accident. It kind of fell into my lap. And so we actively wholesale and we fix and flip. And I have a lot of bird dogs and appointment setters that work on my team that are building relationships with agents and other wholesalers. And one of my team members had been building a relationship with a disposition manager for a bank. So these were REO properties already foreclosed on. The bank owned them and they're looking to offload them, get them off their books. And he brought me a property. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina. Like I would never look at this deal normally. But he's like, yeah, like this guy's got a really interesting pitch. Like you need to get on the phone with him. I was like, okay. And so we have a conversation and basically this banker says like, hey, if you guys can make this a smooth transaction for me, I'll send you all of our inventory nationwide before we give it to a realtor. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, even if we take a bath on this flip, like this could be a $1 million relationship, right? And so we ended up doing the deal. That also checked a couple extra boxes because the kid that brought it to me and a couple of other buddies in Sub 2 had not done a flip yet, and they really wanted to get involved. So we were able to all do it together, check that box, make a little bit of money, but more so just proof of concept for them. And they've gone on to do many flips by themselves, which is awesome. And so the next deal, right, we've solidified that relationship by buying that house. The next deal was in Knoxville, Tennessee, not a market that I've worked in before. I like the Tennessee market, but that's where this property came. It was a 5-bed, 3-bath, and it was only 5 minutes away from the University of Tennessee. So immediately in my head, I was like, this would be an awesome Airbnb. University of Tennessee is a big football school. Like people will come out of town to stay there, and all of the Airbnbs in the area are these tiny little 2-1 bungalows. So I'm like, we can make like the bachelor pad house. We're going to do like a bowling alley in the basement. We're going to do like a full on arcade, make it a super dope experience. And that was the game plan. And so I reached out to a buddy in Sub 2 that lived there to be boots on the ground for me, get photos and stuff. And I was kind of telling him my plan. And he's like, yeah, I would really check with the city to see if that's possible because they've been cracking down very aggressively on short-term rentals here. And sure enough, they didn't ban it, but they basically made it impossible for me to run it as an out-of-state investor. It had to be my primary residence in my personal name, which doesn't make, I don't even know how that works for anybody that lives there. And so I was like, well, that sucks. What are we going to do now? And so kind of going down the list of exit strategies, like midterm potentially could work. And it might have been a mindset thing for me, but I'm like, if I'm a traveling nurse and I'm getting my my housing paid for, I don't want to live with strangers, and I surely don't need a 5-bedroom house by myself. Like that doesn't make any sense. And so I'm like, could we rent it? Yes, but it's only like a couple $100. Could we flip it? Yes, but it's 6 hours away. I really don't want to deal with that. And so I was going through the Sub 2 vault, just racking my brain on what are we going to do with this house. And I landed on a video about sober living and transitional housing. And I was like, that's really interesting. And I could see that there's definitely a need. And so I reached out to a couple other people to see if it was viable. And they're like, yeah, we work with this nonprofit. It's called the Oxford House. They're nationwide. They're in a lot of markets. Maybe they need a house up there in Tennessee. And so I started cold calling and just reaching out and said, hey, I'm a local investor. I've got a property up here. Would you guys be interested? And the lady was like, oh my gosh, yes. When can I go over there? And I'm like, you can go right now. It's on a lockbox. And she went over 30 minutes later. We love the house. When can we move in? Mind you, this house has been vacant for 2 years as an REO property. Like blinds are blown, things are just tore up. It's gross, but they're like so desperate for housing. They want to move in tomorrow. And I was like, well, I got to renovate it first, but yes, absolutely. I'll rent it to you. And so it just kind of, the opportunity fell into my lap, but the more I thought about it, more I could see the need across the country. And then obviously, like I've never dealt with addiction issues personally, but those ripples have moved through my family tree like most people in America, right? And so I've lost friends and family from that. And so if we can be on the front lines to help those people that truly need a hand up, while also cash flowing better than a traditional rental for me, so I can go and focus on the stuff that really brings me joy, then again, it's like, this is the perfect strategy for me. And so that's kind of how I landed on sober as my Everest. Nice.
That's amazing. Because yeah, like you said, killing 2 or 5 birds with one stone. And it's not just, it's not just about profits. You're actually making an impact in the community. So right. Thank you for that. 2 things came to mind, and I'll ask the first question first. Creative flips, right? And you're known for creative flips and subtails. For those who, you've said a lot in that short period of time, but for those who are just tuning in sure. and are new to this world, can you break that down a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So like the basic structure of like a subtail or a creative flip is that we're focusing on houses that have a lot of equity and they need a lot of work, right? They are the traditional cash buyer type homes, right? The way that I like to structure these deals is I'm in a higher purchase price. So higher ARV, there's more wiggle room there. But essentially, if I come to an agreement with a seller where I can give them some down payment money, I can take over any existing debt while we're renovating the home. And then once we sell to our end buyer, they get the remainder of their equity at the back end of the transaction. And so ultimately I can pay them considerably more than a cash offer if they're willing to wait. That's the most simple way to explain it. And so if a listener is similar with like a novation model, it's very similar to that, but it gives me more protection because I physically close on the house sub 2, or if they own it free and clear, we'll obviously put them in a lien position. So I'm on title, I have full control. Nothing can happen at the closing table on the sell side that could hinder me, right? Where the seller's looking in my pocket and thinking that I made too much money on the deal. We've already negotiated their equity on the front end. So whether I make $1 or I make $1 million, the seller gets their fee. They don't know what I'm making, which I prefer that control on the deal. But it's been able to 3 to 5x our profit margins using the same amount of capital in these flips. And so that's really been the cheat code for us to scale on our flip side. And we can use that in tandem, peel off some of those profits to go buy these creative deals that we turn into sober living homes to build the impact for the community and overall the generational wealth for our kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it seems like it's kind of like a less risky exit, right? Versus, a traditional fix and flip.
Yeah, I think so, just because the amount of capital that is in the deal is significantly less. And so I can just give you some quick examples off a deal that we just finished. And so purchase price was $625,000. Renovation was $200,000. So from a cash perspective, I'm in $825,000. Our sales price was $1.2 million. If I was to go and get hard money or private money for that whole purchase, I'm going to be paying 12 to 14% with some points up front. Like that carrying cost is absurd. It's like $9,000 a month, maybe even more, right? In my structure, I gave them $60,000 down of their equity. I paid the agent commissions. I think it was about $18,000. So $78,000 on the front end, and then my $200,000 rehab budget, which I raised with private money at 12%. So that's all the money I need. I just take over their existing debt, and that was a 3.6% interest rate, right? A heck of a lot cheaper than 12% interest only. And so my carrying cost was like a third of what it would have been. And I'm able to pass those savings on to the seller to really give them that 625, because my cash offer to that same house was 510. So they made $115,000 more for waiting for us to renovate and sell. And they were in a position to do so. They had already moved to the beach. They were living in a condo. They were retired. So they're like, yeah, this is just like a high yield savings account with a house backing it. And I was like, that's exactly what it is. And so it worked perfect for me, because now instead of having to bring $825,000 to the table, I'm only bringing less than $300 to still make that same profit on the back end.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah. The power of creative finance. It is the cheat code. Yeah.
Right. Now, this is amazing, right? But one thing that comes to mind then is the risk, right? A lot of people think real estate investing is risky, even though like there's tools or things that you can take or actions that you can take in order to mitigate those risks, right?
Sure.
Can you share a little bit about what tools you use, or maybe even actions that you take to mitigate your risks?
Sure. Well, so I guess I can come from both sides, right? Because I borrow money. I also lend money out occasionally. And so for the lender, for protection, we always give them a promissory note and deed of trust against the property. And I don't allow any of my lenders to lend more than 75% of the after repair value, right? So there's plenty of cushion that if the market does soften, something goes crazy politically and the market's just not moving, I have enough equity that I can lower the price on the home considerably to still get everyone paid out. And in that regard, there's no way that my lenders could ever lose money on a deal with me, right? The only person that could potentially lose money is myself. And if I do, then I mismanage the project and I deserve to lose money, right? And so in that regard, that's how my lenders are protected. For me personally, on the flip side, like the active investor putting in the funds or raising the funds to go and do the deal, make sure it's profitable, is really just a lot of upfront contracts with my contractors, how we bid things out, how we're paying them on a draw schedule, similar to like hard money lenders are paying me back, right? So I pay my lenders, or my contractors rather, on every single Friday for the work that was done that week, right? And so if you tell me that you're going to replace the windows and you're going to do the trim in this room, and I show up and only the windows are done, you're only getting paid for the windows, right? And then setting up incentive structures that if we can get done faster than timeline, I will pay you extra. If this takes longer than the timeline, then I'm going to take some money away. Right?
Love that.
Because like I want you to make money, right? And even talking about like hourly structure based just a flat rate, I would much prefer you just give me a flat rate, which is 5 times your hourly rate. But then it's so much easier for me from bookkeeping, and then I know that you're not trying to like squeeze me and just sit in the corner because you're working hourly, right? Like, just your time's valuable. I need your skill set to do the work. Just give me the number, right? And so because we've run into that issue many times with the hourly stuff. And you get somebody that's $45 an hour doing an $8 an hour task, and it's like, you could have just told me to do this, been done in 10 minutes and still made the 4 hours worth of work, right? And it's just because the time is money, right? And so that's the biggest thing, is trying to be as efficient as possible, have proper communications with our partners, with our design team, with our contractors, to make sure everything's flowing. Being very conservative on our ARVs and on our rehab budgets. I always try to be conservatively low on my ARV, conservatively high on my rehab, so there's plenty of oops money that if something goes wrong. And then again, just further protection is structuring these deals creatively, right? Because then even in a situation like this example that I just gave you, that house, we were supposed to be done in 6 months. That project took 14 months. Not on my side, right? Like, there was a lot of contractor delays. There was some permitting issues, a lot of permitting issues. Just the time of year, a whole bunch of stuff went wrong on this house. And if I would have bought it in any other regard outside of creatively, we would have went bankrupt on this house. But the beauty of creative finance is that my carrying cost was so low compared to hard money, and I'm not on a strict time frame, that the worst case that could happen in a deal, we still made 6 figures on that house, right? And so like, there's so much protection for downside risk when you structure the deals this way, that there's not really a lose scenario. It's just a less of a win, right? Instead of getting a home run, I just hit a double, rather than the double is my highest and best use on a flip, and then I could be striking out. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
And all these like things that you've dropped, right? For example, even if you don't get a home run, you get to second base or whatnot. And then also time is money. Like, there's so much like things there that's all about mindset as well, right? Yep. So for someone who's, let's kind of like peel back to like the beginning with Adam Colburn.
Sure.
Right. If you were just starting out and you have a mentor, maybe your future or today's self talking to your past self, what would you say to someone just starting out? Like, what is the number one mindset shift that you've internalized to get to where you are right now? And then after that, give me, give the audience one tactical action that helped you propel in your business.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and you mentioned it, was mentorship. Like, that is 100% the biggest thing. Find somebody that's doing the thing that you want to do, and figure out a way to attach yourself or bring value to that person. That's my biggest regret when I got started. I got into the wholesale space first, but it took me 8 months to close my first deal. Not without trying. I was just spinning my wheels, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And if I would have joined somebody's team, or I didn't even have the mindset to think that I could go and do that, right? Like, I had imposter syndrome. I don't know what I'm doing. Why would some team want me to work on with them, and they have to train me, all this stuff? Which is completely false, right? Like, at the end of the day, high-level operators like ourselves now, the biggest barrier for us is time, right? I just don't have the time to do the things. And somebody brand new that doesn't know what they're doing, what do they have a lot of? A lot of time, right? So it's a perfect value exchange. I didn't have the mindset to think that way. And so that would be the first thing, is find somebody doing the thing that you want to do and figure out a way that you can bring value. Most often is going to be your time.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Now, thank you so much, Adam, for dropping so much golden nuggets here, especially for, newbies that are trying to get into the game, right? Now, sure. if there's like people who want to get into real estate investing, or maybe a connector, or people just curious about how to get into purpose-driven deals, maybe with you, can you share any insight or what kind of projects you're looking for, and how do they find out more about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So we're actively doing fix and flips, this creative strategy. We're actively buying sober living homes all across the country. Like I mentioned earlier, 157 houses is my goal. I'm kind of reverse engineering that even further, I want 20 this year. I've got 2 so far and 3 more in escrow. So it could be 5 by the end of the month. We'll see. But I would love to partner with people. If you have money sitting around, you want a high rate of return backed by real estate. If you're actively sourcing deals, I would love to be a buyer for those deals. You can reach out to me on Instagram. It's at the Adam Colburn, or go to my website. It's adamsbuybox.com. You can submit deals there. You can schedule a call to talk about a deal. If you wanted to join my team, well, I do the Orbit program that Pace talks about, where I can show you A to Z on how to get a deal done. And again, if you have money that you want to put to work and make a high rate of return, we can definitely talk about that as well.
Man, that is so good. Thank you, Adam. And thank you for showing us that real estate can be both creative and compassionate at the same time.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Teresa. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you. And before we check out, I do want to share what I'm working on with the audience. It's called the Thrive Movement. Now, I'm on a mission similar to Adam, where he has his Mount Everest. My Mount Everest is to help 5,000 people who are stuck in the financial hamster wheel of working just to survive, by helping them become real estate investors with little to no money at all, grow that money safely, and help fund housing for people who really need it. This is not just about real estate or financial strategies. It's about building wealth that actually makes a difference in your life and in the world. Because when purpose drives profit, everybody thrives. And if you ever felt like you were made for something bigger, please go ahead and check out thrivebankingstrategy.com. Thank you so much, Adam. This has been great. Until next time, I'm Teresa Villaruz, and this is Your Money, Your Rules.